Alright, hi everybody. This is Mr. Mannion, and this video is going to be about types of software. So we've been talking quite a bit in this class about hardware, and hardware is like the parts of the computer. That's the stuff that is, inside the computer. You can see it, you can touch it, and it's very important to how the computer operates. You need hardware to be able to actually use the computer. But software is equally as important. However, it's a little bit different. You can't really see software. Of course, we can see it in action when it's on our monitors, but software is all of the digital components that the computer uses. There are three types of software, and before we get into what they are and what they do, I want to quickly remind you that there is some notes about this available if you would like to utilize them. So I have created this table for you to kind of organize your thoughts. The three types of software are up here across the top. And then for each one, I'm going to talk a little bit about what it does, if it's necessary to run the computer. Do you have to have it? I'm going to give you several examples. If you recorded at least three of them, that'd be great. And then we're going to try to compare each type of software to a car. And like what, if we were having a car, or if we had a car, what that software would be like for it. So let's go ahead and begin. So there are three types. We have an operating system, application, and utility. Let's start with the operating system. All right, so the operating system is extremely important to the computer. In fact, the operating system is the only type of software that is necessary. You must have an operating system to be able to run your computer. And the main reason that is because the operating system tells all of the other software, and the hardware for that matter, what to do. There are really two common types of operating systems in use right now. Windows, which is made by Microsoft, and then Mac OS X, which of course is made by Apple. Both of these have been through several different versions. As of this recording, Windows 10 is the most recent version, but there has been several versions over the last several years. And then Mac OS X has actually been on this same version technically for a while, but they keep on updating it. So you might hear like Mac OS X Sierra or Mac OS X Lion or whatever. They give like these names to the different updates for it. Your cell phones also have operating systems. So like if you have an iPhone, your operating system is called iOS. If you have an Android phone, then it's probably Jelly Bean or some name that Google came up with. These other two operating systems are not nearly as common. Linux is popular with a lot of people that are really familiar with computers because it's what we call open source, meaning you can make changes to the operating system. And then DOS is actually on your Windows computers, and you can access DOS, but almost nobody ever does. DOS is the operating system that we used before Windows. So if you've ever seen like old movies, or you've seen people typing on a computer where all it is text, there's no pictures, you don't use the mouse, then that was probably the DOS operating system. Let's go to our car example. So if you were thinking about the operating system for a car, this would be like the parts of the car that you absolutely must have. And the one that comes to my mind right away is the engine. That car is not going to go very far if you don't have an engine. You're still going to have the frame of the car, there's still going to be doors and mirrors and tires. But if you don't have an engine, it's going to be pretty useless. And the operating system is kind of like the engine for the computer. You can have a computer sitting there, but without an operating system, it's kind of just like a big old paperweight. It really doesn't do a whole lot. All right, so next let's talk about application software. So application software is probably the software that you're the most familiar with. And the reason is because by far, application software is the most popular. In fact, the word application sometimes gets abbreviated to the word app. And I know that you guys definitely know what apps are with your cell phones and tablets and whatnot. So application software is not technically necessary to have for the computer to operate. However, the computer would be not very productive and it would be really boring if you didn't have application software. And what I mean by that is this is software programs that allow us to do things on our computer for productivity. And it also is stuff that we use the computer for entertainment and fun. So if you think about like games or Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, all of the web browsers like Chrome and Explorer and Safari, any computer game you can think of would be application software. iTunes, Spotify, I mean the list goes on and on and on. So there's lots of examples of application software. I think I've named most of these already. Basically, if you can think of an app that's on your computer or on your device, most of the time it is application software. So let's go back to our car example now. Think about things that we have in our cars that aren't necessary for the cars to run. However, when we have them in our cars, it makes it either more enjoyable to be in the car or it allows the car to be more productive and more efficient. So I think of things like the radio or the windshield wipers or maybe those heated seats that you need on like a really cold morning. Power locks, power windows. Those kinds of things are not necessary. Our car would still get us from point A to point B if we didn't have them, but I'm sure glad that my car does because it makes it more fun and productive. All right. Last but not least is utility software, and I kind of sometimes call this the software that's the unsung hero. An unsung hero is like somebody that does something really important, really heroic, but they don't get very much attention for it. They don't get recognized for it. And that's basically what's going on with utility software. So this is software that allows our computers to run properly and helps us avoid any maintenance issues that we might have. A different example is they kind of guard our computers or they make them easier to use. So, is this software necessary? No, it's not, but it's extremely highly recommended. I personally would not want to have a computer that didn't have utility software on it. I don't think I would feel safe using my computer without utility software. So, maybe some examples for utility software. Of course, antivirus programs, right? Because viruses are bad things that we definitely don't want on our computers. So we want to be able to try to protect our computers from those. Spyware. So this one right here is a program that protects us from spyware, and it tries to identify the spyware and then get rid of it. Disk Defragmenter. I don't know how many of you are familiar with that, but your operating system has this already installed. Basically what it does is it organizes our hard drives for us. So whenever you save things to your hard drive, it kind of just saves them anywhere at once. Disk Defragmenter goes in and it takes those files and it puts them into a logical order. It allows our computers to run more efficiently. And then finally, firewalls. And we're going to talk a lot more about firewalls later this unit, but these are things that protect our computers from things that are coming into it or going out of it. So mostly stuff that's coming from the internet. So they work sort of like an antivirus system, but it's kind of like the gatekeeper. All right, guys, so I hope that this was useful. It's important to know the three types of software and to kind of know what they do. It's also important to know if they are necessary or not. Last thing, so our utility software here, we didn't do our car comparison yet. Let's talk about that. So on our cars, there's a lot of things that we do to them to like make them run efficiently or to make sure they don't break down. This might not necessarily be the parts of the cars, although it could be, but something that comes to my mind right away is like getting the oil changed in the car. That's necessary. You want to do that. If you don't get your oil changed, you're running the risk of your engine not performing correctly. So maybe getting your oil changed or putting on new windshield wipers, topping off your fluids, rotating your tires, washing the car. Just little things like that that keep it running more efficiently would be like utility software. All right, guys. I'll see you next time.